Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Level Up Cleveland. This week, we have with us the guys and gal from Rubik's Groove.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Probably have heard of Rubik's Groove. Pretty popular band locally around the area. Guitar and vocals.
Yep.
Jim Thaddeus.
James Thaddeus.
No Jim.
I like James Thaddeus because of them S's. It's just got a nice flow. Jim Thaddeus, dude. I don't know about
It's
that.
James from now on. James Thaddeus.
It's a place like you go to work out. You know, everybody it goes in one ear, out the other. Easy to forget. James, it's like, oh, okay, that's more distinguished.
I like
Remember
it.
that. You know?
I like it. Like Hetfield did. You know,
Oh, yeah.
no one ever says Jim Hetfield.
Yeah.
That's right. I never really think of him as a Jim either.
Never, but he is.
Yeah, totally.
Well, if you're not next to him, he's a Jim. If he's next to him, I don't think he likes that name either.
That's right.
Blake Pequeno is back from Camel Butter.
What's up, man?
Drummer from Camel Butter. He plays the auxiliary drums on with Rubik's Groove. Good to have him back. Good to see his face again.
Good to be here.
Episode number 4, if you want to check out Camel Butter, season 1. And next to him, the drummer of Rubik's Groove is Jason Augustin.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Welcome.
Thank you. It's my first time, and pleasure to be here, man. This is sweet.
Yeah, you guys are also one of the bands that also jams here in the building
Yes, sir.
with us here. So another one we finally got on.
Yeah.
Finally got you guys on. But you guys are pretty booked through the year.
Yep.
You guys, you don't seem to be hitting any lulls or anything like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Nah, the opposite. You know, obviously we talked about the Crowbar and how we got a place that's just now starting out that we had booked our first show back, and I knew about the place opening before it opened up, so I was kind of, I really like that guy. We kind of made sure like, oh yeah, we're gonna get in with this place, put it on, and they were cool. Very good place. If you haven't been there yet, check that place out. But yeah, you always do get, with the falling of other places, you get the rise of others, and that's just how it's always going to be. Always a cycle, and
Yeah,
you can
you're
never have
right.
too many venues, I feel like.
Yeah,
'Cause
you're
there's
right.
always
Good
room
point.
for everybody. There's
Yeah.
shows for everybody out there.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a cycle. You know, there's places that used to exist
Same
years
with
ago
bands,
that
you know?
didn't.
A lot of
Burley's.
bands fell out during the pandemic, but with that becomes more available members to start different projects, and it's kind of the same type of cycle,
Yeah.
you know?
So, James, I wanted to talk to you specifically for a little bit because on past episodes, we talked to like Bittersweet Revenge we had in here. We've had it in Rochambeau in here, which means we had
Yeah.
Mark Korkelis, not
Yeah.
in here, obviously, physically. He's no longer with us, but
Right, rest
we
in
had
peace.
everybody else here, and we did a whole episode on Mark.
Yeah, man, I watched that a
Yeah.
couple times. It was damn good.
Yeah, that was a great one. That was one that was fun to make. I
Yeah.
mean, just because we loved Mark, you know, so.
Yeah, man.
And then we did one with Rochambeau where we had Tom Farkas in here.
Yep, watched that too.
And they
Kenny.
mentioned you, and there were you guys as little kids growing up,
Yep.
high school
100%.
times and stuff like that. Your first musical things were with each other. It was that's who you guys kind of all started off.
Yeah, that's how
Tell
we-
a story. Tell me a story about you were just saying about how.
Yeah, man. The first class, literally the first period of my freshman year ever, I met Mark, and by the second week we were hanging out, like begging each other's whatever parents to drive us over to each other's houses. And I remember going to his house to skateboard, and I was pretty intermediate. He was really good. He had these legs. His legs were nuts. I mean, he was 75% legs. And he just
Really was.
had this ability to skate. He was really, really good, even when we were just 13, 14. And I remember not being that good, but I'm like, yo, Mark, I do play guitar, though. I started doing this. So he's like, oh, okay. So he bought literally, I remember he bought a Ludwig drum set off our friend Mike May for $200, which the dude was like, everybody was like, why would you sell that for $200? You're stupid. And Marky got the steal of the century on that. And then we went over to our friend Fred's house to jam with him and this guy Joe Go, our friends at the time, and me and Marky were keeping up with each other, shredding. The other two dudes were just lost, and that's when we knew all right, well, we'll stick together. We don't know about you two, but we know that right here we got a unit.
You got open tryouts going.
Yeah, and so the next
You got cut, but you
Yeah.
made the team.
So the next 6 months, I remember going into that winter of that school year, trying our hardest. Even Sonny was jamming with us. We had a little project with him we were trying to build, and kept trying out this and that and this and that and this and that. And then finally Tom was Mark brought Tom into the picture, and then it was a natural, perfect, organic fit immediately. and it was just like a natural process that seemed so seamless. It was like the struggle to find the right people, and then out of nowhere we got with Tom, and then it was just like everything came together. And Marky was probably like the primary songwriter in the band, and myself, I would write the music, he wrote the lyrics. Even back then, you know, I remember growing up and being like, how are the drummers doing all that stuff? And then I see this guy that's like drumming in my band doing like all the stuff behind the scenes. You don't see like some people don't realize the work that goes into like the lyric writing, but it ain't always the singer, you know?
Yeah.
But he was writing a lot of the lyrics. His brother was the singer, Corey, and Chris was the bass player, his other brother. So
yeah, right.
Three brothers, me and Farkas.
Nice.
And it was funny. There was always like, you know, brotherly fights at the show, and then the practices, and me and Tom were just on standby mode, like.
Yeah, you had to wait for the family thing to end, and then you could get back to jamming.
Hash that out. Me and Tom are there just messing with guitars till they figure out what's going on about who's gonna get to do what at the house when they get back home. But
so why do you think you three guys kept doing it? Like you know, like a lot of people pick up the guitars, and a lot of people do it, but you three guys, you, Tom, and Mark definitely. I mean, not just kept doing it, but like. You guys all
Marky,
tried to do the thing, man. You guys
Marky like groomed us, man. I swear, he like gave me Iron Maiden records, and he was like making us go to shows at Peabody's. And we were like, and I'm like, damn. After a few of those, after a few months of that, I was just like trained. I feel like he was training us, dude. Like I'm not even kidding. This is true stuff.
Well, although
like,
no, you're not the only person that said that about him.
Yeah, right.
The influence that he could have over people.
Yeah, no, he groomed us for sure, and I loved like. I didn't even know about Iron Maiden that much. I knew a couple tunes, but I didn't know like that like deep what they were. So it was cool but I was really into classical. I was obsessed with like some classical stuff. I remember learning a lot of classical stuff then. And in metal there's a lot of classical stuff, so I was like, oh, this is really cool. It kind of fits right.
Yeah.
It fits into what I've been playing and stuff lately. So naturally we were able to write. That's why I mean the natural, like the music was just coming because my guitar teacher was teaching me all these scales, and I taught my guitar teacher at the time, like, I want to learn how to write songs. Like, it's cool to learn them, but teach me how to write. What do I got to know to, like, write stuff? And me and Tom had the same guitar teacher, so he went to the guy, and he was, like, basically doing the same thing. So, like, we were really able to write a lot of cool parts for at the time. I don't realize, as time went on, I realized, like, damn, I don't realize how cool that band really was until years and years later, and realized in my mid-20s, like, dude, that might be the coolest project I've ever been a part of in my life.
Well, you don't realize until while you're in it what's really
right.
happening, and then you look back on things and you're like, "Oh man, it's never been that easy since." You know, that kind of thing.
Until like Rubik's Groove, it was always kind of a struggle, and now this seems like the same organic kind of feeling that was back then. You know?
And you got a lot of pieces to this, so that's odd to be that organic. There's a lot of pieces to this Rubik's band.
In high school, it's cool.
It's hard enough with 3.
Right. In high school, it's different because you got that cult of personality around the band and the streets of the school.
Yeah. You're famous, at least amongst who's important.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And in our, world today where we're all grown as motherfuckers, we got to, like, be out there and kind of, like, seeing the bands. It's not as, like, natural to get that, like, fan base or, like, people around you to come see you. But it is, though, if you put in that work and develop relationships with the other bands, and a place like Level 5 where it's like, oh yeah, you could just go meet with the guys in the building and develop relationships with all the bands in here. There's a lot of them. A lot of them are not really many that, like, I feel like fit our style. We're almost like an anomaly in this building.
Well, you're not. There's not. Well, I don't think there's a lot of bands in the area that fit your style. You're unique. I think that there's bands that are similar. You can fit into a real broad general category, but when you start getting down to the nitty gritty, I think you guys are real unique. And you have a female vocalist too, which helps separate you even further from the pack, and a good one.
She's
I mean,
good.
Right? So you guys have a lot of the intangibles also that really separate you guys from the pack. And not only that, I say this all the time: when you're good, you're good. You guys have good songs, and that is the most important thing that will separate you. Same thing with Camel Butter. There's a lot of bands that I've listened to since Camel Butter because they kind of opened the door for me to. I told you guys, I love that shit. And same thing with the Rubik's. When I listened to that when we first started doing this, I told him right away, Pat, I was like, really cool shit, man. Like, wow, I was really totally caught off guard.
Makes you feel good, right?
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely, but it's unique, and because you guys are writing cool, catchy things that are palatable. Like not that, it's cool to be different, but sometimes you can go too different and then it's no longer palatable. You're like, I can't, it's not the same as anything I've ever heard, but I don't want to hear it again. And you guys are definitely not that. And neither was Camel Butter, like I really like it opened me up to that, I never was really into it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like what you guys are. I think that you guys are unique but palatable, very, and that's just writing good songs, man. Writing good songs.
I feel like so much of that is like, so many of our songs have hooks. Yeah, and I just mean like there's something out of each and every one of them that you will find yourself stuck with in your head when you're in the shower. You know what I mean?
That's it. I think this EP, the Rubik's Groove EP, that's the one that I have. I've listened to it a number of times. I invite anyone to listen to it, even if they never heard this kind of music before. I think that if you're somebody who likes rock, you like rock music, you have that in you where that kind of beat and that kind of drive is something that you like. I think you would like this, especially if you're open-minded to some new shit. That's not just a 4/4 rock song that you're just gonna fucking hear on every station.
Right. We've always like prided ourselves on kind of not boxing ourselves into any genre, and like to your point about being a fan of rock, I also feel like there's like other branches you could take it, where like if you were like a diehard funk fan, there's some of that for you with our group. If you love reggae, we got some tunes that kind of hit those vibes as well. So like just the culmination of all the different influences on top of the fact that there's 8 people, it really just, I don't know, it's like unlike any group I've ever played with, for sure.
Yeah.
So it's too much fun.
So Jason, let me ask you a little bit, because we've had Blake here. I've talked a lot with Blake about his influences. I have it all. I have all of it recorded already. All of it. But what are some of the influences you have? Some of the people that you like. What got you started? The whole thing like that.
So it's kind of funny. My brother. I'll give you the short story. Save some time. But my brother and I, when he's 3 years older than me, I was in 4th grade and he was in 7th grade. One Christmas, our parents got us instruments, and he got a drum set, I got a guitar. And then after like a few months, I just started playing the drums and really wasn't touching my guitar, and my brother was playing drums as well, and we just both found it way easier than trying to play guitar. So kind of just like a natural inclination, so to speak, if you want to call it that. But I was just drawn more towards the drums for sure. And then grew up like my dad, 2 of his favorite bands are Led Zeppelin and Dave Matthews, which both obviously have monster drummers. So I just grew up like in a household where music with a great beat was always playing, and so that had a hard influence on me. And I don't know, just kind of stuck with it, and like through the years have like cycled through all these different genres that like I've taken a deep dive into and like learned the nuances of each like drum part. And so like what I mean by that is I started playing like earliest days would be like AC/DC, classic rock, just the easier
learn how to keep a beat,
stuff.
Learn how to be on time.
Right, backbeat stuff. And then after that started playing a lot of like punk rock stuff, like Blink-182 type tunes.
Now you're speeding it up a little bit.
It's the same chops, but now we're getting a little faster. And then started getting into some more technical stuff, like a lot of the jam drummers and other funk drummers. And now it's just like this big culmination of knowledge, where it's cool because in this band, like, of course we were rooted in like some blues and funk influences, but I feel like I can draw little pieces from like each stepping stone of drum knowledge that I've gained over the years. So it's just a lot of fun. Some of my favorite players, like just to cap it off, I'd have to go with Carter Beauford from Dave Matthews. He's a fellow open-handed drummer. Like, I don't play closed hand. I'm lefty, so I play left-hand lead, and that's how he plays. So it looks kind of weird, but like, I don't know. You kind of have to double take to notice. But so Carter, Jeff Percaro from Toto's one of the best. one of the smoothest. He played on a ton of like Michael Jackson and some Steely Dan and stuff. So he's one of those guys you might not like know the name, but you've heard a bunch. And then probably Adam Deutsch from Lettuce. He's just like the ultimate like simple drummer's drummer. Like can hold a fatter beat with like the least amount of notes that like anyone can. There's just so much feel behind his playing. I really appreciate it.
I mean, I feel like the foundation of what everything is built on melodically is happens there. You know, it's that glue in the background that's kind of holding everything together.
Totally.
And even if you're not necessarily drawn to it, you dance to it. You know.
Well, I know, but I don't think people recognize it as that.
Oh yeah, no, they don't.
I think they it's a beat.
You're totally right about that. It's invisible. You know, it's this invisible influence that's really hard to you just don't notice it.
Right.
It's
just
strongly.
like you have just like bodily, natural, like primal reactions to drums, whereas like someone's ripping guitar, it's making you like think really hard. It's like two different reactions on your body, and that is a good point. I'm not offended in the slightest because I know that like when I'm listening to music, if you were to think of it like you were looking at like stacking mixes on each other, drums are mix number one, the first track right there playing the loudest, and a lot of the times like I'm just drawn towards music with more technical or more advanced drumming, but it's also just like when I'm enjoying music that's not super technical ripping drums, I just try to focus on like how that simple drum beat is serving and elevating the music too, because it's as much as I love someone ripping super technical chops, like there's a lot of beauty to be found in simplistic playing too, and I feel like that's something I've learned over time.
Well, like 99% of what you're doing is going to be grooving.
Right, exactly.
Especially in a band like this too, where you guys the beat and the groove of the song comes down a lot to what you guys are doing.
Right.
For sure.
Which is why you need two of you.
Yeah,
exactly.
I feel like I'm the sprinkles. I feel like I'm like the sprinkles on the ice cream cone.
You like that? Yeah.
I agree. I think like the band. There's an old saying that the band is as good as the drummer is. You ever notice that?
It's very true.
Remember that when you're like watching concerts.
It's I like to always say it like this: you can take a band full of great guitar players, bass players, and singers, and have a shit-ass drummer in that band, and that band will sound like shit.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what anyone else is even trying to do. The band, you could take a lot of guys who are decent guitar players. If your drummer is aces, the band will sound pretty good. I mean, it doesn't. At least it doesn't sound like the band whose drummer sucks.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's the unsung hero. That and the bass guitar.
Yeah.
And especially
the
this
rhythm
band.
section.
Yeah,
period.
the bass translates that rhythm to melody. It's so interesting watching the way that they communicate that to everybody else.
Right. Bass really is an enigma in that sense, because it is that middle ground between the lead instruments like guitar and the rhythmic background of the drums, and it's just
It's the second time today we heard that. All right, we got to take a break. All right, guys. When we come back, we'll see a new face.
There you go.
yes sir.
It's ZM Delgado here, author of the Rust Belt Rock Review at ZachO'Lantern.com, and I've got your Labor Day weekend concert calendar update. First off, Friday the 2nd at No Class, the Folk Punk Bar Show, House of Wills, Sick City, the EPA Band, the Baker's Basement, Wednesday Demonstration, and the Wormwood Conspiracy. That's a lot of punk rock for your money. Saturday the 3rd at the Grog Shop, you can see the San Diego heavy psychedelic rockers known as Earthless. In support, they're bringing with them the Terminal Lovers. If you're looking for something fun to do, on Sunday the 4th, head on out to the Whiskey Island Still and Eatery. There you can see the Sellouts and Out of Eden. And finally, on Labor Day, Monday the 5th, at No Class Cleveland, you can see Terror with Karma in support. So there you have it. Labor Day's laid out in front of you, folks. You got 4 shows on the docket. I expect to see you out there. My name is ZM Delgado. This is Level Up Cleveland. Thank you for watching, and rock on, Cleveland.
And we are back with the guys from Rubik's Groove, and I think what you might notice is Blake is gone.
Like dip.
Disappeared.
We've eliminated Blake. We figured, Blake, you already had enough time when you were on here with the Camel Butter guys. If somebody's going to go, it's going to be Blake.
There
Not that we
you
don't
go.
like Blake. We love Blake.
Right.
Correct.
But in his place, we got Steve Smith, bass player for Rubik's.
Newest member.
Oh, and he's the most recent addition. Is that what you're saying? Or the newest member to the podcast?
No, a band.
To the
6
band.
months
Quite-
he's been in the band.
Yeah.
Quite fresh.
Wow, that's cool. Real quick before we go on, I want to just go through everybody else that's in the band and not, at least go through who they are
Yeah.
and what they do. So we have the brass section, the whole brass section. None of them could be here. John Cox, Aaron Roman,
Yep.
Jonathan Griffin.
Yes. All great guys. And two
And then-
of them are actually from so different places. John Cox is from Chicago.
Oh,
Yeah, and Aaron's from New York. John Griffin, he's from around here. He went to Baldwin Wallace. And so the three of them come together. That's our little holy trinity of
yeah.
brass.
Well, is it like, wow? That's wild. You got three people and one's Chicago, one's New York. Is it just hard to find brass players? Like
no,
you got
actually, so we got a whole plethora of them, but what it really was just kind of like, John, I met at Iggy's open mic, and, that guy just like, or Jam Night, the Jam Nights at Iggy's, the Wednesdays they
Yeah.
used to do. Obviously, they're not anymore, but he was always up there regularly, and I found it surprising that, like, he wasn't in a band one day when I talked to him. He's like, oh, I jam with all these people up here, but yeah, ain't in no band. It's like, oh, okay. And, but he played in a real cool band called Environmental Encroachment in Chicago, which actually I visited in Chicago in like 2012, 13. I saw the band that he played in. And then like 5-6 years later, like
He's
moves
in your band.
here and he's in my band.
That's
And it
wild.
took a while for me to realize that. He told me, oh yeah, who he played with. He's like, Environmental Encroachment. I'm like, did they yell EE? Because they do this thing where they yell EE at their shows, which is Environmental Encroachment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, that's the same band. I seen you back in like 5 years ago. I don't even know you yet.
You
So I
saw
was
them
like,
in Chicago?
Yeah.
No
I used
kidding.
to see a
How weird
girl
is that?
there who was going
Chicago's not the smallest city either. You just happen to be at that place.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That is some crazy stuff that blows my mind still to this day. It was meant to be that he's with us, playing with us. And he's been like, him and Shannon go back to a band called Charlie that dates Rubik's Groove. And
Charlie, it's called?
yeah. Yeah, we were in a band called that for a year. And
Was it a similar type of music?
it was like some of these songs, actually. We wrote in Charlie,
Oh, oh.
and then we scrapped some of the members and started decided we'd start from scratch with Rubik's Groove. And I almost would prefer, like, we're almost like a spider. And by that I mean, like, there's 8 of us, and we each hold up this body. You don't know if we're going to jump. You don't know if we're going to, like, run at you. You don't know if we're going to build a house in the corner of your room.
My butt.
But, yeah, we might go into your bed, right? I don't know. I'm just kidding. But, yeah, like...
But you're doing it all together,
We're like
and you guys
equal
have
parts,
one common thing. You're-
eight equal parts holding up this, like, this
Yeah.
foundation of, where everybody's kind of making enough of a contribution, but no one really shines too much. Everybody does their own thing and kind of has their moment in this band. And that's one thing that, like, we try to emphasize a lot, because it really makes everybody feel like they're truly contributing to something big, rather than like one person just kind of like being left to the
does
side.
everything. Everybody else is just kind of like the hired
right.
gun
right.
for
The
that
backing
band.
yeah.
All right, I'll do that beat.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, I'll
exactly.
do that bass line.
Right.
We don't even really like getting fill-ins, honestly. Like, at this point, it's kind of like, can everybody do the show or nobody do the show, really? So,
Well, one person you mentioned that we haven't mentioned totally yet is the lead singer of
Shannon,
the band, Shannon Hogart.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to make sure her name got out there, because
right.
I think everybody else has been announced, even in the brass section, but that's a pretty big part of the band.
yeah.
Right.
Before we get into Shannon, I do want to talk to you, since you're the one sitting here, a little bit about the bass, and you're the new guy,
Yeah.
and all the stuff that went into you being a new guy, and how you got to this point. And
Um,
are you also the youngest guy in the band too?
I think I'm like a month or two or so younger than Steve.
Yeah, we're
but
the young
We're
bucks.
the babies.
Yeah. But go ahead. So How'd you get into the band? How'd you even...
Well, playing in another band, like sharing some bills with them, they were always like my favorite local band. You know, even like so many good ones, but I always really looked forward to seeing them because they just have a really cool vibe, you know. And I was a little, you know, nervous and concerned like coming into it because I like to play a lot of notes and stuff, and like my playing could be a little aggro, but they left so much space, you know. Blake and Jason hammer the pocket. Jimmy plays a lot of like higher inversion chords and everything, so like I fit in really good. Even when there was a keys player at the time, I just it wasn't like how I thought it would be, and it was really good.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So they basically hired a fan to play bass for them, right? A guy, right? I mean, basically that's what you
I
guys
was a
did.
fan, yeah.
Big
I really
fan,
was.
right? But
Yeah.
a guy who could actually handle the job, though, on
Right.
top of it, not just a fan, right?
Yeah. Oh, I really wanted to do it, but I was a little nervous that it wouldn't work, you know. But it was fun. I'm loving it.
It's been such a blast having Steve play with us, man.
It's true.
Going back to what Jimmy was saying about how good the chemistry is and how we're coming into our own, a lot of that has to do with just like, I mean, there's a lot of like active thought that goes into it, but just my playing and Blake's playing coupled with Steve's playing, like as individuals, it works really well. And then on top of that, the effort we put into locking in, it just is so seamless. And like half the time it feels like Steve knows what I'm going to do before I do it. Like he has been such a blast to play with and such a great addition to this band. It's really like,
It's kind of an injection.
Yeah, of new life and positivity. And Steve, he's a hungry cat like myself. We're the young guys, so we're just trying to play, you know,
For
trying
sure.
to do. So
Yeah, you guys have a really good energy, for sure.
Right.
I like a lot of real good energy from you guys. Just from
Appreciate
being
that.
around you this little bit I've been around. Obviously, Blake's got a lot of energy.
Yeah, right.
But you guys have, but it's a good positive energy I get from the Rubik's thing here. You know what I mean?
I appreciate it.
And I think that also comes through in the music too. I think that's the kind of, you guys have a vibe that even through your lyrics and everything, it's a good time, good vibe type of a thing. I mean, that's what the whole thing's about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, basically.
Yeah, we love each other, no doubt. We and it comes alive on stage a lot. You know, we really you can't replicate any musical experience like one that you experience live.
No,
And
you're right.
we know that, and so we really try to put everything into the live performances for sure. You can't really. The records just don't do justice. I'm sorry. No offense to us, even, but
Right.
like
No.
I think you know we really come alive when it comes to playing live. But again, Steve was like totally an organic fit. He comes from a good band called Grav, great band,
Yeah.
and check some of their stuff out.
You were in Grav?
Yeah.
You guys are taking a hiatus?
Yeah. Yep. But we'll be back soon. You know, just trying to figure out what we need to change.
You guys had to go out and join some other fucking bands and explore a little.
kind of, you know, and that was another reason what like made this so awesome, like completely different than what I was used to, and like the reason I was nervous, like playing in Grav, say just 2 guitars and drums.
Yeah.
I played a lot of notes, you know, and I played hard, and the vibe this band creates is very much like not that at times, but I feel like I didn't even really need to change how I played much. Like they adapted too in a way, you know.
Yeah, we do. I was gonna say too. We don't really take no for an answer. If you want to play with us, like we'll be malleable to whatever it is you want to bring in, and you know that goes for the various keyboards players that's played with us. It's always like adapting differently to them. Different saxophone players that have played with us because we've had a handful of those. Harmonica guy, it's like our buddy Jared will come play harmonica. We immediately like find a way to get that involved,
Right.
and like I think it makes it interesting, man, because there is no rules to me. You do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You could do something at your next show that's unlike anything you did at the last, and same with every reoccurring show that comes after that. And it helps us. It helps me a lot because it keeps things interesting. I don't like when things stagnate and maybe get stale and stay the same for too long.
Yeah. Well, you guys get no problem with that. You guys have a lot of. Well, I mean, just the
Right.
sheer number of people in the band helps, right? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
the more the merrier is what you guys are saying. As long as you
For
fit,
sure.
as long as you fit somewhere, and even if you don't, if we like you, we'll find a spot
Yeah,
for
exactly. Exactly.
You just
kinda
gotta
what
be
you're saying.
aware.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
That's exactly it. It's it kind of like it's like Jimmy was saying about the live performance, I feel like that's why we love sit-ins too, because one, like a lot of our tunes, you can just kind of vamp on them and it works well for someone who doesn't like know the exact structure. And on top of that, it keeps everything so fresh. And like, you know, by the rule book, our music does not call for harmonica, but the fact that like we say, I don't know, screw it, we're going to try to, exactly. Right. We're going to try to make this work. I think it allows us to do some cool things. And I don't know, it's just such a blast. Every show's pretty fresh because we're always, a lot of our songs, even like older songs, will reapproach and maybe change some of the dynamics or subtle structure parts. So a lot of it's always adapting, and sometimes, you know, we'll just play a song differently or slower or faster just to
give it a different,
something. Yeah.
I'm a big Frank Zappa fan, and a lot of us are, and so, you know, who like incorporated more random stuff in his songs?
No, nobody did.
Than him.
Things that don't make sense.
And the thing I love about him is he never allowed music to become too serious. Really, music itself, the creation of it, like he took very seriously, but like he seemed to make light of so many things. It was like I love the satire that he always brought, and it's just like that. We have a little bit of that too, where we like to just make sure it's always kind of keep it hilarious, you know? Keep everybody laughing, keep it good, keep it rolling. Like,
how are you guys as far as an improv band, like a jam band type thing? Do you guys get into that? The practice, live, everything? I mean, can you guys just turn it on and just like, that's it?
I think we did like 30 minutes of it just at one of our last shows. We played a 3-hour gig, and I think 30 minutes of that was just improv. And it was great.
Do you guys have any ideas going into that, or like do you guys have like, hey, we're gonna play? It's gonna be an E today, or it's like what? Do you
I make notes in our set list, like just to give everybody an idea.
Yeah.
But it's pretty damn open outside of that.
That's so cool, man.
We're
That's
all
so cool.
like fans of improv music.
Is that how you write a lot of your music? Do you write a lot of your music through jams?
But that's the thing. It's nice. It's like squeeze a little improv in between two things you wrote. The crowd don't know. They'll think like, oh yeah, you read that whole thing. But we know they're like, nah, like we just winged it.
And
and that's when you're looking at each other. That's the most fun, right?
Yeah, right.
That's the best part of the gig.
There's a strategy to this.
That's the best part of the gig. Well, sometimes you do stuff like that just to make it fun for you guys. Fuck if anyone else knows.
That's right. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's
just
our philosophy a lot of the time, for better or worse.
Yeah, it's something you guys will talk about after the gig.
Exactly.
But you know, if no one else, and it doesn't matter. People enjoy themselves. Half the time they don't know. How many mistakes do you guys make? Every band, you make how many mistakes you don't forget. No, not a fucking person ever will come up to you and be like, "Hey, good show," except that one fucking part. Never happens.
On bar 47, you hit an extra.
Yeah, right.
Like,
no,
okay.
It never happens in your head. You'll never forget it.
Exactly.
No one ever catches that stuff.
To answer your question though, we've always like it's always been important to us that the first however. Usually it's about 30 minutes of practice. We'll get there and we're all kind of filing in. We try to explore like a nice warm-up jam. A lot of the times it's all just off the top. One person starts playing, messing around, and we'll kind of start stacking on top of that. And it's a great way to just warm up and, you know, kind of say hi to everyone with our instruments. But also we record all of our practices, so we've pulled a lot of chunks out of those jams and turned them into full songs.
2 songs, Get You Home and All I Need, both came from
Cubes too.
session.
I think that first
Cubes
part of
as well.
Yeah.
So 3 of our 14 songs that we got, we wrote out of improvised. But like, I have a theory, and that is that when you're improvising, you don't have to think about it. And there's something about art in its purest form that doesn't involve like thought, but more so just what you're doing in that moment right then and there.
It's almost like an unconscious consciousness.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you could go back. There's been many times where I'll improvise something and be like, I'll literally try to do it after and be like, why can't I do the thing that I did?
Yeah, right.
So
but
as soon as you add thought and stuff to that, you're fucked.
Immediately can't do something that I thought I could do. Okay, but but anyway, in that sense, getting back to that, I feel like it's important to maybe like cultivate the ideas that you create when you don't think so much. I feel like that's really, truly who you are. That's like the best representation of what you're going to bring to the table musically.
Yeah.
are
Right.
things like that. I think that's like an important thing that we definitely do when it comes to the origin of maybe a song or.
The other thing I think that comes out of a band like you, where you're not just a band that got together. You guys are skilled musicians. You're really good at what you do, right? So in order to get there, you took years of practice by yourself in a room doing shit to learn all this stuff. When you can get together with other guys who are as good as you are and understand what you understand and have been down a road similar to you and can play, and now you're playing shit that you know damn well you're pretty freaking good because you know. And then this guy over here is complimenting it, and when it all comes together, you're like, we're fucking good. Right? That feeling is really, that's the awesome feeling when you're, you know, it's a little bit of ego. I'll say it's what it is. It is. Sure. But you know what? Shit, man, that's fun.
You
dude.
put in the hours,
That's what makes it so much fun to do this kind of thing, especially in a band like you guys. Another thing about you guys is that you're off doing whatever the fuck you want to do. You're not boxing yourself into anything. So how much more fun is that? Now you guys can add a harmonica to where nobody adds a harmonica. And then at the end you listen to it and you're like, yeah, we pulled it off. It's pretty fucking good, man.
Right.
Man, I got to give it thanks to Shannon, too, for putting up with all the times we improvise and just go instrumental. Mm-hmm. Because she can't sing. I mean, she can, you know, wing a little bit, this and that, play a little shaker, but she's been cool at allowing us to, like, go off and improvise, too, just when it comes to just instrumental sections. Because there's a time and a place for her to sing, too. And plenty of songs where, like, she's going to be the main focus, no doubt. But it just kind of adds one more dimension to our band when we can, like, go to this, go to that, go to here, go there.
Yeah.
You know, I think what's fun about, to me, I write a set or, you know, according to, like, what I want to see at a show. And I feel like a lot of surprises, shifting gears, trying to catch the audience off guard and maybe, like, do something that they wouldn't necessarily expect. You don't want it to be predictable because then it's like,
you saw one show, you don't have to see him anymore. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like when you could throw all these different things at them, it kind of keeps them more engaged, you know?
Heck yeah.
Even if it's just we're fucking around and it's
One
kind
dude
of a disaster. But just the fact that you're different and mixing it up keeps it interesting. I think that's one thing that keeps the band, like, fresh, at least for ourselves. Make sure not to let it get too stale, you know?
So anyways, what I want to talk about a little bit is Shannon. She's lead singer. I haven't been able to say much about Shannon at all because she's not here, and we've been talking about everything else. And frankly, she's an extremely good singer and extremely good front person for this band. I mean, she does everything that you would want and then some.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it a little bit. How do you guys? How does this all start with Shannon? You said you and Shannon went go back before the actual Rubik's thing.
Yeah, her and I, we met like late 2017, maybe mid 2017, and then not even, maybe like the second or third time her and I hung out, we met John at that, like I was telling you, Kelly's, it was actually a Fish tribute show at Powerful Pills. John was playing trombone with them, and me and Shannon had just decided we were going to start playing together, and we asked John, like, oh yeah, you want to play with us? But I remember it was really, what it was I was jamming with two other guys, a drummer and a bass player, JP and Russ, and they wanted to play funk. And Shannon, who I just met, texted me a picture of a record of Betty Davis, old funk lady from the 70s, one of the just real originals. And I was like, oh, damn, you like funk? I'm like, you sing? And then it was just kind of like, I don't know where we're going to go with this, but you should try to sing with us, some basic stuff. We started with some intermediate covers, you know, and then she was pretty damn good. I mean, she hadn't played in no band before. She ain't sang in no band ever. It was like her first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was her first time ever doing that. But
this was just in 17?
But she works at the Agora still. At the time, she was the bar manager at the Odeon also, both. And her brothers, both musicians, and her father was a drummer who had a studio at his house. I think he still has the studio. So she'd been around it her whole life. It was kind of just a matter of time for somebody to, like, tap in and be like, let's do this. And so that's what I did. I kind of tried to get that out of her. And once we did, it was just kind of like a natural. She's a natural, you know, especially, like, up on stage. She gets it, you know. Even when she's not singing, she's, like, dancing. She's doing the thing, like, kind of getting other people to want to dance, too. And I think one of the things we don't appreciate about her is she's kind of like the creative direction in the band. She made the art for the album right there, and she's the one that probably has the vision for us creatively as far as the visual side of the band. And as a woman, I think she maybe has a little extra fucks to give about those things. I'm kind of just like, I'm old school, dude. I just like wear my band t-shirts and fucking jeans, and like that's how I'm gonna dress for the show. But she usually kind of wants us to put a little more emphasis on like, let's look
the part
appropriate,
Yeah.
When you're standing next to her on stage, like, you're never gonna. No one's gonna look as fly as her on that stage.
Yeah, that's
which
true.
is also kind of nice because I really don't like the spotlight. I've been performing for many years, but I still don't really like the spotlight. So it's nice to have someone that can like take that away.
So live, is that how you guys all kind of think that way a little bit, where she's kind of like out there doing the thing and you guys are like just doing your jam thing like you guys do
I would say so,
all the time, right? I mean, that's what it is.
Because when she steps off stage, it's like anybody's game.
And is it
anybody could take over.
It's almost like a practice again, right? You guys are back there and it's just jam time.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, who writes? You write the songs with her?
I write most of the stuff that we got, but we've also had contributions coming in where she has an idea and we'll roll with that, and but mostly it's just kind of like me bringing my musical knowledge to her and giving her like scales and like, oh, you can do this with this, and showing her like melodically like what she could do with her voice, and because she don't really have like that knowledge, but at the same time naturally she does have the ability to like sing really well, and especially kind of blues oriented stuff. So
you're guiding her mechanically through this thing and letting her natural ability.
Yeah.
You're controlling. You're saying, look, you got natural ability. Let me kind of and then it comes out like it does, beautiful.
Yeah, and as time goes on, and sometimes you just gotta like sing it out and see what sounds best. All these different things, and so she's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of musical trial and error with this band. Like even my own guitar parts, they change so much over time. With the addition of Steve, I'm like, oh my god, I could do so much less than I used to do. So like,
well, you guys are experimenting a lot. I mean, with experiments, there are going to be failures and stuff.
Totally.
Things that didn't work out.
But it's like we try to eliminate the ego in this band. Really, like we know we're like the shit together, but individually, I feel like we just kind of know everybody else can be.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Letting somebody else like take over at any given moment, and never like doing too much, because all you gotta do is a little bit in a band with this many members, and it makes for a humongous sound.
Yeah, anybody can take over that lead part for that moment at any point. You can do it, even the drummer. I mean, how often can you say that about a band? But if you want to, everybody can kind of like back him up and let him go crazy, and he's now the lead guy.
It's true. We got drum solos.
I mean, guitarists.
Drum solos.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's even some parts where, like take There You Go, one of our newer songs, for example, like, it is a very, like, at least during a few specific parts, it's, like, very drum-centric. And so, like, there's opportunities for every instrument to shine in all of our music, which is so fun. Because, like you're saying, one person just kind of takes that step up, and then it's like us backing that person, or like you were saying with Shannon, like building that platform for her. So it's really cool. We'll trade all the solos like all the time. Like Jimmy was saying, we even have a few bass and drum solos. So everyone gets a moment. It is a lot of fun.
So are you guys friends outside of this? I mean, do you guys hang out and that kind of thing? I mean, it seems like there's a lot of age differences here too, right? I mean, it's not just.
I'd say what are we from, like 20? How old are you? 25?
25. Yeah.
So everybody is from like 25 to 32. So
that's not too bad.
All 8 members fit within.
Oh, no, that's not too bad then. You guys can hang out.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
But do you guys hang out ever? I mean, are you guys like factions of you hang out? Or?
That'd be the better way to put it, honestly, because it's like we have so many people. It's like,
it's like a crowd already.
We roll deep. It's like, that's the party right there. So a lot of like I like, we all love to participate in the scene, like we were kind of saying off air. So we'll go to shows together and whatnot, and there's definitely like pockets of friendship within the band, but something that we've been doing more, I think, like this past year, kind of coming out of COVID, is like more emphasis on the like friendship aspect of the band, and not just treating every time we get together as like, okay, we got to grind this out, like blah blah blah, but more so like having having more hangs away from the music, like playing like last like 2 weeks ago, I think it was, or last week, playing Ohio Dream Fest. It was great to be able to like camp with the band, you know, and just hang, because everyone, there's all these different backgrounds, so much diversity within our band just from where we all come from and our upbringings. So it's so wonderful getting to hang with this group.
Well, are you guys like a sarcastic bunch around each other and stuff like that? Is that how that is?
A lot of
ribbing and stuff like you guys are always
subtle shit talk.
I give the band permission, like, to call my ass out if I ever take it above a level of like seriousness.
Right.
Like, put me in my place, because we need to maintain like just that goofy nature, because in order to get stuff done, you got to take things seriously sometimes, but like you definitely, it's nice that we can break it up and be like, so dude, with a guy like Blake in there, like, you can't, he's like the make sure shit does not get serious type of dude. Right. Be there to make sure things stay hilarious with whatever I bring in a jug full of PCP. You know what I mean? Things like that. Like, he's always gonna make sure.
Well, that does.
But everybody's that way. Everybody's that way. And we find a good balance of like appreciating each other's personalities, who everybody is, but still have that common objective of let's make this band kick ass, you know?
Right.
Well, so I also noticed that you guys, it's like a clique of bands. The Winchester seems to harbor a lot of them too. Like that's another place that. But there's like a clique of you guys, right? It's the Camel Butter, the Rubik's Groove. There's a bunch of you guys that you see you guys play with each other a lot. Right. There's a circle that you guys get in and out of and stuff. Friendship, I mean, is that what that is?
Oh, yeah.
You guys are just all real tight dudes. And
so there was a band called Tree Speak. Our buddy Andy Russo was in for a long time. Me and Blake used to hang out. We were just fans at that point. None of us had bands. And like, he's just been my homie since those days. That was a Kent band, Tree Speak. We used to hang out a lot. I met him through that, and like, we talk about it a lot. How far we come in like the 6 years since then, and how we were just fans then, and look at us now with our bands doing these things together. And so we do. I make sure to like, you know, keep Camel Butter close, because it's like working with Blake, trying to make sure he gets on with his guys, and all the guys in Camel Butter are great. Jazeel, Jan, Nick, and wait, who am I forgetting? Luke. Yeah, of course. All them cats are great, and
they share like the same. I feel like we run so tight with them too. It's because they kind of share the same like vision and philosophy for like how we want to approach these things.
Right, and I think that's what I'm saying. I think the bands what I'm talking about is that's what all these bands. There's I don't know, 8 of them, 9 of them. I don't know how many there are, but it just seems like you guys kind of run in a pack.
For sure.
And it's because you all share that same no fucking rules mentality with your music, right?
Yeah.
And so you guys, now out of that, can you guys see a future, or out of that, it's like, now these 5 guys get together and form a band because we like jazz, and then these guys, you know, and because that's kind of what could happen from something like this, right?
You formed a band.
Yeah,
with
we had
Camel Butter guys.
Yeah, so me, Luke, and Jan, and Mikey Silas from Apostle Jones, and Joe Figueroa from a band called the Rosies, kind of have like a little jam side project where we're like flexing a lot of the muscles we don't in our original group. So it's like just a real like chill kind of fun thing. We've played like a handful of shows, but it's exactly that, you know, like Luke and Jan and Joe came to me because it's like, hey, like, we all play in these bands, but there's some stuff we want to do that wouldn't really work with them, or, you know, just whatever. So, it's quite literally exactly what you just explained.
And nobody's really making music for the mainstream, is what it is.
100%.
Which is you're making music for yourselves. Period. That's it.
Exactly.
And that's really the separation point. Really, I mean, you know, that's when you start getting into your. I don't even know time signatures, but really crazy time signatures.
Right.
You know, you guys have them. I mean,
we got some.
I mean, that's what separates that. You know, stuff like that, where you're willing to say, this isn't exactly palatable to everybody,
Right.
but fuck it, I like it.
But it's also a weird double-edged sword because like then you'll take those like creative leaps, like
Yeah.
playing a weird odd time part, and you're like, this is just for me. I think this sounds cool and it's fun.
Absolutely.
Fun to play, fun to like use those musical muscles. But at the same time, the crowd sometimes will be like, holy shit, this is so weird that it's cool. Like, oh my God. Like, you know, I actually see it a lot of the times when we're playing because we have a lot of hard start, stops, changes that kind of come real quick where we'll be locking into a groove and then we switch over to a different time signature, a different key or whatever. And the crowd's kind of like, oh, cool. Like,
Yeah.
you know, there's those moments where if it doesn't land, if we're not in sync, you might have some people like tripping or spilling their drinks or something.
Yeah,
but,
right.
but when you do lock into those, it's like, it's really cool. Some people are like, oh man, I didn't see that coming. Like,
Yeah.
we barely did ourselves.
I think one moment like that is like, well, the slowdown and get you home is cool, but like, we do like a little scale change there where like John Griffin, our sax guy, gets a little Egyptian mode in there.
Yeah.
And every time
So when that happens,
we started doing that lately, the reaction from the crowd is very positive.
Right.
Very positive.
When you say he does a little Egyptian thing, did
It's like
you
a-
come up with did you when we're talking about writing
kind
songs?
of. Well, it's like, yeah,
So-
you know
so-
your modes and like you talk your music to your guys. And so so I have a background I started on percussion instruments in elementary school. I was a snare drummer. So I know like the terminology for rhythms, whether 16ths, this, that. I can literally just be like, yo, 16ths on the high instead of 8s or like this, like that. And then I could talk the theory side of it to the brass guys so that like I'll give them a list of modes and be like, yo, we're switching to this key. It'll be this mode. The chords that we're playing, me and
So you're able to communicate to all these guys through musical
and that makes the
terminology.
improvising
Right.
stuff so much easier.
That's so cool.
For them because it's like, oh, that means I can go to this. It'll be like this, and then it's like not as much pressure. They're not
Right.
sweating it. They're like, oh, okay, I know that mode.
And it's also like Jimmy like give you a little like taste of what he wants, and then like you do the rest. With
Oh,
it,
you
you know?
allow for that.
Exactly. So he'll like
Plant
you
the
know like
seed.
the modes exactly. He'll be like, okay, play. You know, this is like kind of the vibe or mode I'm going for this song, but it's not like you're gonna play this scale in this time. It's like have at it.
I
like,
usually
just
have like
capture that.
I have like a
feeling.
just list of don'ts.
Yeah.
It's like
Right,
I don't
right.
say what to do. I
Yeah,
just
right.
have basically if you do something, I'll be like,
Exactly.
not that.
Yeah, right.
But there's some other shit you got that will work. I know that.
There's been times it's funny where like I'll have a beat and Jimmy will, like I remember it was on this new kind of jam groove we got called Blue Luke and the Wichita Kid. But Jimmy literally how like my playing was syncing up with the drum beat, how my playing was syncing up with the guitar, he's like, everything's great, but just don't play that one kick right there and tell me how it sounds. And like literally pulled this one beat off like we're in Pro Tools programming drums and like,
It's like,
All right, guys, that's it. We're out of time.
all right.
well, thank you so much for having us on.
Hell
This
yeah, man!
is
Thanks for
an
coming
absolute
up.
blast.
Thanks for coming up. Usually I say thanks for coming down.
Yeah, right.
But thanks for coming up.
Shout out to Level Up Cleveland. Check out the rest of their episodes. I know they've got a whole group of wonderful people that they've brought on and many
Thank
more
you.
to come.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
Thank you
Appreciate
guys so
you.
much.
Yeah. All right, we're out. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
That'll be fine.